I'd like to ask someone to lead the pledge. And Brenda, I would like to ask you to lead the pledge tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is a statutory meeting, and that's why I'm residing, so we can pick a president. I would also like to have a yes.
We don't want to ask them.
Do I have before I do that, may I have a moment of silence for our soldiers and their loved ones, please. Thank you. There is the next agenda. On the agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone signed in? There's no one signed in.
Sir, as chairperson, I would like to request the situation of privilege as provided by for the Robert's Rules of Orders, page 287, which I'm asking to address the board, and we can do that, and the board can either consent formally or informally, or there can be an objection. I'd just like to speak to the board.
Is there any concerns or objections that Ms. Donna speak to the board? Do I hear any objections? So I say by consent, then that Ms. Martin, if you'd like to speak,
Okay,
go ahead.
And I would like to do so.
You may do so.
Thank you.
If
And
anybody
thank you.
objects, let me know.
And I would stand, but I've got back problems too, so if you don't care, I'll see. My comments, I wrote them down so that I wouldn't forget any of them, okay? So I'm going to read them, but I did write all of these with no influence by anyone else, no foreknowledge of anybody else that I was going to ask for this. It's simply something I wanted to do. And thank you for letting me do this. I'd like to speak briefly about who we are as a board, what our purpose should be, and how do we go about performing that purpose. First, who are we as a board? Our board is composed of people elected by our citizens who have diverse and appropriate skill sets. Just a few being Mrs. Smith, who has a background and knowledge of the health field, Mr. Matthews, who has training as a teacher and knowledge of the business community, Mr. Curry, who has extensive prior experience on the board and knowledge of maintenance and related areas, Mr. Priestley, who has experience and knowledge from those of teacher through all levels of administration to superintendent, and myself, who has some experience and knowledge of education. We as a board possess a vast array of experience, skills, and knowledge, which should serve the school board well and the citizens. Number two, what is our purpose as a board? I believe our purpose must be to serve children, to work toward improving educational opportunities for them. As you know, children don't have a vote in all this. They rely on us to serve their best interests. As a board, we will oversee the operation of our school system. Over 3,600 students, over 500 employees, and a $55 million budget. Lastly, how do we go about performing that purpose? I believe that we must mesh together our considerable experience and knowledge and use relevant data provided by the superintendent, staff, schools, and community to make up our own minds about issues pertaining to board business. I suspect that some past board members listened to others, whoever they were, whether those who helped elect them, their relatives, or whoever for whatever person, purposes. And let those whoever's tell them how to vote on board issues and to otherwise carry out certain actions associated with board concerns. How could those whoever's have known all the facts associated with and ramifications of those decisions or actions? I don't think they knew all of that. They knew the part that affected their interests. And yet the board became legally responsible for those decisions and actions, not those puppet masters wishing to control the board. Whenever you're served a subpoena, as I've had served on me, for a legal hearing, you will stand alone. No puppet masters will appear on your behalf, nor anyone else. None of those outside influences bear the burden of their decisions, even though they may have unduly influenced them. Only we bear that burden. In summary, who will decide what we as a board do? Us or others? We have the experience, we have the knowledge. Do we have the will? Will we make decisions based on rules and regulations, data, and best practices? Or will our decisions be controlled by others based on unknown reasons? Will we make decisions based on the needs and best interests of students? Or on someone else's private or political agenda? Only we as a board can answer those questions. But I have faith that together we can do so in a manner to promote the needs and interests of children. I sincerely believe that is why we were elected. And more than that, I believe it is our legal and moral duty. I respectfully submit these comments for your consideration, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Part 3, or organization of the board. Following the procedures outlined in Robert Rules of Order, Section 46, nominations and elections, open the floor for nominations for president of the board. Any member may nominate one person to be president to serve a 2-year term. A second is not required to make a nomination. Once all nominations are made, a member will be asked to make a motion to close nominations, call for a second, and then vote. You will then present each nomination for a vote until a majority of the members present elects a president. Following the vote, you will state by a vote of whomever is elected as president of the board for a 2-year term and will assume the duties at this time. At this point, the newly elected president will call for nominations for vice president, following the same procedures outlined above, followed by a representative to the Committee of 55 and a representative to Receipt Council. And if it's not clear, the order that they are nominated is the order that they will be voted on. I'll now open the floor for nominations for president.
I'd like to nominate Carolyn Smith as the president, give her the opportunity to continue her role as the president. She sees she is.
Before we make any more nominations, I would like to say that I've had that role for quite some time and I have enjoyed it. I've never had any outside influences on any of my decisions, and I've always had the interest of the children at heart. I now have a daughter who is living in Kentucky, her husband in Afghanistan. I've got a lot of responsibilities and obligations. Being a board president takes more than just coming to our meetings. And I've been very active in visiting